guys, Aqua Girl Talks here, making an appearance after several months because I'm lazy. Editing is hard, but I feel like I have a lot to share, so I'm just gonna try to get the ball rolling again, and I've said this before, but figure it out as I go along. Today I want to talk about beta sororities. I really want to talk about this because it's the main question I get on Instagram every day, several times a day. How do I start a beta sorority? Why do my betas kill each other? What do I need in my tank? How big of a tank? How many females? How do you quarantine? How do you introduce them? You know, there's just so much that goes along with starting a beta sorority, and I feel like there's so many people on social media, of course, and in real life, doing it wrong. And I just want to have something on video that I can share with people that message me on a daily basis that is just more clear cut. It answers all the basic questions, and that, you know, everyone gets an answer, because I'm just one person. This is my hobby. I'm a hairdresser by day, and I come home and I enjoy doing, you know, aquascaping and taking care of fish, and, you know, having to answer several questions every day thoroughly about the same thing. It kind of just wears me out. It kills my spirit a little bit. So I really want to be able to help everyone, and I can't get to all of you, so I'm making this video for you guys. So I hope that I go over everything. Definitely ask me any questions in the comment section. I'm happy to keep an eye on that and answer more in-depth questions on everything that I cover today. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope that I can make a lot more videos for you. So enjoy. So the first rule of keeping a beta sorority is that you need to have a minimum of five female betas. I know this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to get comments from some people, and they're going to say that they have 3 and they've been living together for years and they're just fine. There's always exceptions to the rules, and I think you should always be reaching to better your aquarium. So I think if you are one of those people and you're watching this video, I think there's no shame in, once you know better, you do better. So I would hope that by the end of this video, if you are one of those people with 3 females, that maybe you're thinking about if you need to get a larger tank and accommodate 5, so that they're living in a less stressful situation and they're able to form a proper hierarchy, as they do with 5. So 5 female betas for lowering, you know, a chance of aggression, so that they're able to form a hierarchy, a chain of command, most aggressive to least aggressive. Usually when there's 2 or 3, they get targeted and they can definitely kill one another. Betas are an aggressive species, male and female. This is one thing that I get a lot of questions about is, oh, you can keep females together? I thought they were aggressive. They are aggressive. So if you're going to make a beta sorority, it is a risk. You are taking a risk. So this is why I want you to be able to have the tools to at least have your risk lessen by setting things up appropriately. Anyway, so 5 female betas is the minimum. The other minimum is, in my opinion, 15 gallons of water. These are 15 gallons. I did used to have a 11 sitting here, and I had 7 females in it. It was kind of a situation where this tank in July, unfortunately, I had a case of columnaris, which is a bacteria that wiped out most of my fish. So I ended up having to take the male beta out of this and put the survivors in here, in the 11. This is a 15. And I had to bleach this tank and start it completely over. But I didn't have anywhere to put them, and I didn't want to jar them all, you know, to no end. So I put them in the 11 gallon, and I then upgraded it a few months later to a 15 gallon and then added more fish. So I think if you can get a hold of one, a 20 gallon is even better. So the bigger the better. Again, with people saying, oh, I have 3 females and a 5 gallon and they're fine. I don't think that's ideal. I'll never support it. I don't think it's great. I think you can do better. So 15 gallon minimum, 5 female minimum. Let's see. The other thing is, how do you decorate your beta sorority? These are 3 examples. This is kind of a poor example because I just converted this tank to high tech, which means I'm injecting CO2, pressurized CO2. So that's a different conversation for a different video. But I did have this completely like jungle, it was jungle scaped. So this had a lot more coverage in the 11 gallon before I moved it to a 15 and started injecting CO2. So I have just gotten my hands on a lot of these plant species, and I'm growing them out and I'm trimming them right now a lot. But these females were all with each other before I rescaped the tank and took a lot of the plants out and started growing out new ones. So they, nobody is new in here. They're all used to each other. And so I did decide to take a risk when I decided to grow out a new scape and leaving them all in here together. And there hasn't been any trouble. Actually, no one in this tank. I think there's one. So one out of 15 or 16 bettas has a little bit of fin damage, so they're doing pretty good in here. And this will fully grow out to be, you know, a heavier, a more densely planted tank like these two. So anyway, lots of plants, so many plants that you can't see the back of the tank. If you're using silk plants, that's fine. Just, you know, do a lot of caves, some coconut huts, rock caves, tons of silk plants, so that there is plenty of hiding spaces in that tank. If you're doing live plants, they love live plants. They really do. So I'm always going to encourage you to try live plants. If you're new to live plants, try Anubias. That is, I don't want to call it foolproof in case you have like something going on in your water and you kill Anubias. So I'm sure that if you kill Anubias, it's probably not really your fault. There's something in your water. With that said, Anubias is a great beginner plant. I don't think you're gonna kill it. I think you should definitely try it. Another good beginner plant would be pennywort. I have some in this tank, and I'll show you guys later, but it's on my Instagram all the time. Pennywort, Brazilian pennywort, if you want to Google it, Brazilian pennywort is a great beginner plant also. It's pretty forgiving. I go back and forth suggesting Java fern as a great beginner plant because that's one of those plants that I can't keep alive. I don't know what happens, but Java fern is like great for a low-tech tank. Low-tech being, you know, low to moderate light and no fertilizer. So I don't know why I can't keep Java fern alive, and other people it just thrives for. So I will hesitantly recommend you to try Java fern because I know a lot of people that do have good luck with it. That's just kind of one of those plants for me. We all have that plant that just doesn't thrive in our care for whatever reason. So Anubias, Brazilian pennywort, try Java fern, marimo balls, that's another good one. Anyway, those are some really nice good plants that you guys can try in your beta sororities or any tank for that matter. Anyway, I mean, I suppose that's kind of the gist. No less than 15 gallons, no less than 5 females, densely planted with silk or live plants and decor, caves, and coconut huts. This one has a coconut hut. I think a lot of you guys that follow me on Instagram, you know that Francine loves her coconut hut, and that is her territory. So anyway, I will move on to some coverage of each of these tanks so you guys can get a closer look and then talk more about it as I kind of jog my memory. So, okay. This is my original 15-gallon sorority that I started last year in April. So it's going to be coming up on its first year here in the fish room pretty quick now. When I got my first, I think I started out with 7 females. I did, of course, add them all at once. I think, you know, there's a lot of things that people say out there about adding females and how to do it. For me, because I have the tank planted so heavily right now, it's growing in after a trim on that left side there. So it will be fully grown in within the next week, and you won't be able to see through it like it is right now in this video. However, whenever I add a new female, I don't rescape the tank and I don't remove the existing females. I float the new female after I've quarantined her for a week or two, and I just add her. And there's just plenty of hiding spaces in the tank, so I don't really worry about having to, you know, pull out all the fish and and replant and make it a full different scape. I haven't found that I've needed to do that. Whereas I think other Aquarius, they feel like they need to do that so that the female bettas can reestablish a hierarchy and territory. Whereas I feel like just keeping the tank densely planted at all times, there's plenty of room and plenty of territories to be claimed. So I just, go through my quarantine procedure, and I float the new female and let her work it out with the others. I have had, there's actually been 3 female bettas that did not work out in any of my 3 beta sororities. So when you are deciding to start a beta sorority, I think it's very important that you know that you need to have other tanks in case things don't work out, because some betas are just too aggressive for sorority life. Sometimes it's because they are too old and they've lived a solitary life too long in a jar or a cup in the pet store, or they're a secondhand beta. Maybe you're getting one from a friend and they've had it forever and it's been living alone, and you go and try to add it to your sorority and it's just too aggressive. That is certainly a possibility, and that's up to you as the Aquarius to draw the line and say, enough is enough, and remove that female and let it live in another tank by itself throughout the rest of its lifetime. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that as a responsible pet owner, you need to see this as a possibility, and have, other options for that situation. Something that I've done before officially deciding that a beta is not going to be a good fit for sorority life is, if I see one being aggressive, I have, it would be normal for them to be somewhat, chasing or what I would call body slamming, flaring at one another initially within the first few days. A little bit of fin nipping, that is normal. It is not normal when they're racing around relentlessly biting or hunting. If this kind of behavior happens and it doesn't really look like it's letting up, I have removed that female, the problem, and I've jarred them next to the tank and left them in a jar for a couple days. And then I've tried them again. And occasionally that has worked out. So that's another thing that you can try before removing a female beta indefinitely. So I think that's going to conclude part 1 of how to beta sorority for me. It's kind of all the, hot points that I wanted to cover. I broke the little thing that holds my phone on the tripod, so that's definitely a wrap. My kid is in here. All right, he left. And I think I gave you guys some really good, just a basic overview. So I feel good about that. The other thing I wanted to say really quickly is you're going to want a lid. So I have lids on all these tanks. This lid, there is a lid for this. I actually had my husband make the lid out of stainless steel mesh from Home Depot. So that works really well if you have a rimless tank and you don't have a lid. Lowe's or Home Depot sell this. It doesn't really rust. I mean, I've had this on here for a long time, and it's perfect. So I don't know if you can see that. So that just fits over the 22 gallon. And then I have the same one for this one up here. So that fits over a lot nicer than what I'm doing here, but I'm just trying to show you that a lid is very important. They definitely jump. Betas in general jump. They definitely are more likely to jump. I hear them splash all the time at night. They're kind of active at night. I mean, they're active right now because I'm in here, but they do kind of hunt around for food and things like that at night, and sometimes they run into each other and they're like, psh, splash. So definitely get a lid and save yourself some heartbreak. Just eliminate that issue altogether. Another thing that it is good to have on hand is kind of a medicine cabinet. The thing with beta sororities is if one gets sick, it tends to whip around really fast because being that they are an aggressive species, they're a little bit stressed. Not all the time, but it is a more stressful environment than having a betta in a tank by itself. So while it is okay if you do it right, we did talk about it being a risk. Their stress is elevated. So they are more susceptible to illness if it's introduced in the tank. And that's why I quarantine. Another video for another day. And having medication on hand to be able to pull out a female that has something, or to be able to treat an entire tank. Some of my go-to medications are Epsom salt, aquarium salt, Maricin 2, trying to think what else I use. I feed Metroplex for parasites. That can be a quarantine routine, or if it's something that you see happening in the tank, you can feed that. It's safe for plants. Prozi Pro is another anti-parasite. I do use that in quarantine no matter what. And it is safe to use in a planted tank. Methylene Blue is another one that I keep on hand. It is not safe for a planted tank or any tank that has a cycled filter. You would use that in a quarantine tank or in a medicated dip. And Riddick by Cordone. That's a really good one, of course, for ick itself, which is a parasite, but it's also something that you can use aside from ick for external infections and parasites and things like that. So again, another video for another day, but those are just a few things that I do have in my medicine cabinet that I do use them quite often, and I always make sure that I have restock them if I run out, because you just never know, and it's so much less stressful if you have something come up in the tank with one of the fish or multiple fish, that you have some thing to go to right then and there, and you're not worried about, oh my gosh, does the fish store carry this, does PetSmart carry this, oh, do I have to order this on Amazon, and how many days is it going to take when the fish need it now? So anyway, those are just a few tools I can give you. Again, if you have other questions, I will be reading the comments, and please follow me on Instagram. I'm a Betta World, and I have some friends, H2O Plants, Justin, if you guys are looking to get some live plants and maybe you don't have a great selection locally, H2O Plants is really, really great, and I'm always really happy with the plants that I get from him, and great customer service. He'll be there for you long after you buy plants from him. So, and his wonderful wife Margaret. So the other thing is Space City Fish and Coral, Daniel. I've gotten several bettas from him. So while I do get bettas from other sources, and I do find them a lot locally, if I were to recommend someone to buy from online, if you don't have a great selection in your local town, Space City Fish and Coral on Instagram, super. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.